Well, good morning, Beaumont. Oh, man, it's going to be a great day. One of the things that I think I see on the horizon is Republican Senator John Fetterman. And you said, wait a minute, he's a Democrat. Well, during a Saturday interview on Fox News, the U.S. is losing while his own party continues to follow a risky strategy, prolonging the present. Well, it'll be a 27-day government shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, as is known. Fetterman told Saturday in America host Kayleigh McEnany, who used to be the White House press secretary, he wishes his Democrat colleagues would just wise up and vote to open up the government before having a conversation to address expiring Obamacare premium subsidies. Now, nobody in the news media has got enough guts to tell you that the reason we're facing this incredible shortfall where Americans' health care is about to skyrocket is because the entire Obamacare thing was a scam. It was a scam to begin with, and the way it worked was it would take money from young, high earners that don't need health care and put that money into a trust to pay for other people who perhaps had just arrived in this country and didn't even put anything in the pot at all. So what's about to happen is those government subsidies are about to go away, and then everybody's going to have to start paying for health care. It was a bad idea then. It's a bad idea now. But nonetheless, federal health care program subsidies are the main issue that's currently holding the Democrats back from agreeing to a deal. The Democrats are extremely disappointed that we have literally millions of illegal aliens that are going to lose their free health care. And this distresses them much more than any taxpayer losing his health care. In the days leading up to and throughout the Schumer shutdown, the Pennsylvania Democrat has broken with the vast majority of Democrats in the Senate by repeatedly voting for GOP-backed continuing resolution, as well as supporting multiple other bills to pay military service members. Now, I'm here to tell you, I am against the continuing resolution. What I am for is a complete revamp of the government budget, top to bottom, and what we call zero-based budgeting, which means we don't start with what we've been spending. It means we look at the program and start from zero and say, well, how much money really should be spent on this program? Zero-based budgeting is the only way that you get a fair outcome. Unfortunately, it requires congressmen to actually do some work. And I got to tell you, most of our congressmen are violently opposed to actually doing any work. That's why they took the job. Well, anyway, getting back to this, the majority of the Democrats in the Senate really want to give free health care to every illegal alien. And don't forget that time when they were all on stage during the big debate. And they were asked how many want to make sure that illegal aliens get health care, and all of them raised their hands. That's right, all of them. So anyway, Fetterman said, look, I don't check. Are we winning? Are we losing? The thing, because I guarantee America is losing in this place right now, Fetterman told McEnany. Well, here's the other thing. I believe that as long as the government is shut down, America is winning. We need a military, and thank God for the one guy that showed up and said, here's $130 million to make sure that the military gets paid this next paycheck. I appreciate that. We may need some more of that, but the point is, the longer government is shut down, the better off we are. And the more we begin to recognize how many ridiculous government programs there are that we're paying huge sums of money for that generate nothing of value. This is a big deal. So I'm glad the government is shut down. Quite frankly, I hope this shutdown goes all the way through Christmas. I do want to come up with a way to pay the air traffic controllers because God knows I fly a lot, and I want to make sure those guys get paid. I want to make sure that our military gets paid. But the IRS, what value do those guys serve? And the answer is they really don't serve any value at all. They've been steady on destroying America since they were created. So it's time to get rid of the IRS. And don't forget, the 16th Amendment was never properly ratified. Do the research. You can't do it on Google, though, because Google is untrustworthy. So use some other engine. Perhaps Yandex, that's a Russian engine. That might serve you better. Anyway, critical mass of the Democrats are now dug in, and and they're going to stay that way. There's an absolute ironclad kind of deal. And Fetterman said, I fundamentally believe that Majority Leader John Thune is an honorable guy, and I do believe that we could have a sincere conversation before we reopen the government. And then we don't have to do this three-card Monty, about do this, do that, do the other thing. Let's just open it up, and then we have our SNAP program. That's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And let's face it, there are a lot of people out there that have been living on the government dole, and you've by now seen the videos. There are hundreds of them. These are men and women who have never had a job, and furthermore, they don't intend to get one. They think it's your responsibility to feed them and their families so that they have time to be with the kids. SNAP is used by 42 million Americans and God knows how many illegal aliens. So too many of those happen to be in Fetterman's district, and they're going to run out of money just in a week or so if the government remains shut down. McEnany then asked Fetterman if he thinks it's time for the Republicans to nuke the filibuster and end this thing. He said, I think it's entirely appropriate. The filibuster is a long-used procedural tool in the Senate, requiring a mere 60-vote threshold to pass most floor votes in the upper legislative chamber. Democrats, despite campaigning to end the filibuster when Republicans were the minority in the Senate, have used the tool to block dozens of GOP-supported measures to end this shutdown. I would remind everyone, the Democrats, that we wanted to nuke the entire filibuster, and I'm referring to the right now carving it out. I'm not talking about eliminating the entire filibuster. Carving out the filibuster would make it almost impossible to shut our government down in the future, regardless if it's Democrats or Republicans. We should remove ourselves our power to shut this down in this way, said Senator Fetterman. He also blasted the Democrats' drastic shift on using the filibuster, telling reporters, we ran on that. We ran on killing the filibuster, but now we love it. So just open the whole thing, cut it out. I don't care about who's winning, who's losing, who's going to blink, said Fetterman. So I'm just telling you that Fetterman is going to be a Republican soon. I have no doubt, because the Democrats will primary him. And he's been acting, he's a lot more conservative than, say, Mitch the Eternal Chinese Money McConnell. Yeah, just a thought. Now this, sadly in other news, first of all, I want you to know that once again, because I am a pilot, I subscribe to pilot type stuff. And there's an enormous number of pilots that have died in the air behind the yoke as they were flying an airplane. This is because they mandated that airline pilots have to take the jab. And of course, if you take the jab, one of the things that I can guarantee you is you can get the COVID as many times as you want, perhaps more times than you'd like, but that's the only guarantee that comes with the COVID vaccine. The other not quite so solid guarantee is that if you're a man, you'll get myocarditis, or you'll get some sort of turbo cancer if you're a man or a woman, because most of the people that took the vaccine are dying of cancer. So that's a big deal. Blood clotting is a huge big deal. Well, Nick Mangold, 7-time Pro Bowler, just died. He was 41 years old. When in your life can you remember when every time you opened the paper, some young athlete or some young actor was dying? This is the new normal. If you took the vaccine, I strongly urge you to find a real doctor. There aren't many. Urge you to find a real doctor and see what you can do to try to help ameliorate the problem with spike proteins. Here's the sad part. Dr. Fauci belonged to that death cult that wants to see the entire world population reduced to something like 500 million people in the entire world. So when they created this, they created a new monster. These spike proteins, we don't know much about them. We do know that babies that are born with spike proteins, they replicate at an incredible rate. So it's something that we need to be concerned about, but we have no idea what this is going to look like in a couple of years. So if you did get the vaccine, or if you were in close proximity to someone who got the vaccine, you may have contacted the vaccine through what they call vaccine shedding. you do need to see a doctor. You need to figure out a way to solve this problem. Finally, in other news, the Gateway Pundit reports that the state of New Jersey's efforts to bulldoze a 175-year-old family farm in order to create affordable housing, thus stealing the property from the family that's owned it for decades using eminent domain. Well, New Jersey, or NJ.com, reported that Chris Henry stood before the Cranberry Township Committee pleading with officials not to rip his family's heritage apart from their soil because their great-grandfather purchased it in 1850. The Henry family, whose parents both served in World War II, whose mother's name is etched into the town's war memorial, is now watching bureaucrats prepare to seize their 21-acre farm by force. The family poured over $200,000 into preserving the historic Middlesex County farm, which is currently leased to a local rancher who does sheep and cattle. Despite the property's agricultural use and the historical importance, the Cranberry Township Committee voted unanimously in May to steal the farm. So this was just to meet the state-mandated housing quota pushed off by the far-left courts and the Trenton bureaucrats. Well, Fox News is reporting the battle is finally over, and the township and farm owners have reached an agreement. Before the conflict was resolved, the U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, I really like her, shared a post on X advocating for stopping the seizure. On Friday, Rollins shared news of the resolution. I'm so pleased to announce the Henry Farm has officially been saved. After months of bipartisan federal-state collaboration, the state of New Jersey has secured an agreement that would spare the 175-year-old Henry family farm from the state's affordable housing plan. Further efforts are also underway by the USDA and the New Jersey Department of Agriculture to protect this prime farmland into perpetuity. I look forward to continuing the nonstop work of Andy's team. The war against Andy's farm is a war against all farms. That is why the USDA is finalizing plans to end systematic lawfare and weaponization of the government against American agriculture. Defending America's farmers should be a top priority for every American. Look, I don't know what you guys think. I know the leftist view is, well, look, if you need meat, why don't you just go to the store where they make it? Well, we need to save these farms. Thank you guys for being part of the show today. Like and share, give me a thumbs up, and God willing, I'll see you tomorrow. You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.